Good afternoon and welcome to Quays News. I'm Teddy Chambers.
And I'm George Ike. Coming up on today's programme.
I'm live outside Salford ambulance station as a 5% pay increase for workers is set to be announced.
Holly Roberts visits the Manchester Deaf Centre to commemorate British Sign Language Week.
And I'll be live from Eccles Town Centre talking about what the budget means to the people of Salford.
It has been reported that the government may have reached a pay deal with health unions which could help stop further strike action.
Live to our reporter Ewan O'Leary. Ewan, what's the latest in these negotiations?
Ambulance strikes have been suspended for the last couple of weeks. We've known that. This is because of this deal that has been attempted to be struck in the last few moments. They were initially paused 2 weeks ago, these strikes, but now suspended after the government agreed to these negotiations, where ministers have now offered a 5.2% rise, which we now know has been accepted. This is after the previously rejected 3.5% that we saw earlier on, and ministers said they couldn't go higher from this. Well, now they have. And now they've accepted that deal. This new pay rise will go to nurses, paramedics, call handlers and other health staff as well, where they'll also receive 2 one-off bonuses throughout this year as well, although that won't include doctors. Jeremy Hunt said earlier today that he hopes they'll have an agreement soon. It's quite clear now that they have been able to manage that, and the new pay rise has been agreed to with the NHS and the government.
Thank you very much, Ewan. Apologies for the slight sound issues there with the wind. So, Teddy, what have you eaten today?
Well, George, I've had a very healthy diet. I've had 2 Bakewell tarts, Rocky Road and a double chocolate cookie. What about you?
I had a McDonald's, so not a very healthy diet. Do you? Do you think it's a healthy diet?
Not really. I feel like you could have had something a little bit better, but McDonald's is nice. Cheat day.
Absolutely.
But good nutritional care is important. Our reporter Mia Williamson went to Salford Royal Hospital to find out more about eating right.
It's Nutrition and Hydration Week, an annual event which highlights, promotes and celebrates good nutritional care. Here at Salford Royal Hospital, they are encouraging everyone to get involved.
So personally, my opinion is we should use Nutrition Hydration Week to encourage nutrition and hydration care, and how best practice can be delivered using our resources available to our patients all year round.
A survey found that 60% of people trust nutritional advice from underqualified professionals. 75% of young people trust advice from a personal trainer or fitness instructor. 41% said they would trust a healthy eating blogger. Nutrition and Hydration Week encourages people to seek sensible, evidence-based advice from qualified professionals such as dietitians.
So I think it is really good to focus on the general routines and practices and think about how, where and when we can do things and why.
Can you give an example of this?
Yeah, so for example, it's good to work with what we have available to us. So for example, I always encourage staff to understand the catering budgets, knowing their meals and snack lists, what type of drinks are available, and when finding out patients' likes and dislikes, and their ability to eat. Do they need assistance during meal times? All that is really, really important. But also observing how do we offer drinks, when do we offer the food, and where do our patients eat.
It's very important to practice good nutritional care, so if you don't already, this week is the best time to start.
Greater Manchester Police have seized thousands of illegal vapes from a vape shop in Cheetham Hill. Our reporter Amna Hussain has spoken to someone who sells legal vapes.
Over 80,000 vapes have been confiscated from a shop in Cheetham Hill as part of the police's campaign to get rid of counterfeit goods in the UK. Cheetham Hill and Strangeways are known to sell 50% of counterfeit goods in the UK. Greater Manchester Police have launched Operation Falcon to tackle crime in Cheetham Hill, including selling vapes that are not compliant with UK law and causing major health issues.
This can cause cardiovascular disease, lung disease, popcorn lung, and a lot of these disposables these days are actually colourful, so they're advertised towards kids and they're not actually sold in proper nicotine product shops. issue with buying vapes which aren't regulated by UK law is the fact that they contain illegal amounts of nicotine and an illegal amount of liquid in it. As regulated by law, it says that you can only have 20 milligrams of nicotine or 2 millilitres of liquid. So if you see a lot of these disposables as well, what they do is they use a cotton and that's saturated in the liquid. The issue with that is once the liquid burns out, you're actually vaporising the cotton.
Now, the highest point of Salford might be the top of Salford Shopping City, but that hasn't stopped Salford Mountaineering Club chasing national success.
They headed to Warwick at the weekend to compete in technical and fierce climbs. Heather Davey has been dusting on the chalk and strapping on her boots.
Who will make it to the top? Salford University Mountaineering Club are keen climbers, but they've just competed in their first competition. A team of 6 headed down to the University of Warwick campus to climb with speed, endurance and a lot of strength against 23 universities from across the UK. Each competitor competed in lead climbing, a technical route where the climber uses rope and clips into the wall, and also speed, which is exactly as it sounds. A climber is disciplined to get to the top of a route as quickly as possible. The competition was the first of its kind, but attracted many universities and even got great British climbers from across the UK. Elliot is one of the organisers from Warwick and a competitor.
So we're at the Lookers National University's Lead and Speed Climbing Championships today. I'm Elliot Payne, I'm the head organiser here, so we've worked hard to put this together, but I've just been competing, so it's been a lot of fun.
How many teams and how many people are competing today?
It's been a huge event. We've had 110 people enter from over 25 universities across the country, people right the way from Southampton up to Edinburgh, so really good showing.
And what sort of climbs are involved in this competition and what grades are they set at?
The climbs have been hard today. I've watched a lot of people struggle with them. We've had some really steep, powerful things that people need to be really strong to do, and we've had some really scary, bouncy, tricky climbs. So they're around 7C+, 8A+, and then the finals are going to be showstoppers, I think.
So, with the routes varying difficult for the climbers, how are Team Salford finding it?
Actually being here and experiencing what it's like to be in a competition has given us more confidence. So I feel like now if we go back home and be like, it weren't actually as scary as you think, it'd encourage more people to be able to come.
Eve is a Warwick competitor and is elated to have hit a personal best on the speed wall.
Yeah, it says Warwick. Part of Warwick's team, and for me, it's going really well because I got my PB on the speed wall. 3 whole seconds shaved off, which is really good in speed. Doesn't sound like a lot.
Salford have finished the qualifiers, but there's still many more teams from across the UK to master both lead and speed routes before we see who can clip the win later on in the finals. The finalists all took their seats in the evening, with other teams still supporting them. The grades inched up for lead and the numbers flew off in their speed. The winning university for lead was the University of Warwick, and for speed it was the University of Cambridge. But one single competitor from Strathclyde University in Glasgow, Pippa, took both female wins. The competition was intense and seemed to fire up Salford University climbers, who are determined to get back and form a stronger team for future competitions. But one thing Sumsey will never fail to provide is energy, spirit, and they always know how to navigate the nearest pub. Heather Davey, Quays News.
There's been a mixed reaction as Jeremy Hunt unveiled the budget, which revealed that one local area has been given a substantial sum.
Our reporter Bethany Robinson is live from Eccles Town Centre to discuss the budget. Beth, what will over £5 million help change in Eccles?
Yeah, thank you, Teddy and George. Eccles have been earmarked to receive £5.4 million of government funding. Funding was confirmed as part of the Capital Regeneration Project, announced in the spring budget by Chancellor Jeremy Hunt. And this funding will enable Salford City Council to deliver a shared vision for the future of Eccles. This announcement follows initial disappointment as Eccles missed out on the Levelling Up funding scheme in 2022. Salford City Mayor Paul Dennett said, "It's no secret that in recent years Eccles, like many other town centres up and down the country, has faced decline. We have always been committed to delivering real impactful change in Eccles Town Centre, and we have a plan that is consulting on and will be implementing. The Salford Town is one of 16 regeneration projects across England that will be in receipt of funding and allocated investment over £200 million.
A group in Salford are protesting for their freedom of their country, Biafra, and for the release of activist Nnamdi Kanu, who is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra.
The group are protesting in the hope that the UK government will listen to their plea for an independent state of Biafra through a peaceful referendum. Our reporter Isabella Norrison found out why.
Behind me is a protest for Biafra to gain their independence. They want to be separate from Nigeria. They also want to free a man called Nnamdi Kanu, who has been held against his will.
Go and release Nnamdi Kanu!
In 1914, Biafra lost its independence to Nigeria, and after 100 years, they want it back. Nnamdi Kanu, who started this movement, was kidnapped in 2021 for the second time and is being held in solitary confinement ever since. We spoke to Austin, who is the main organiser of today's event.
Nigeria is not working. There is religious intolerance, there is tribalistic intolerance, there is anything you can think of. And when you mention the name Nigeria, all you can think of is crime, corruption, fraud, anything you can negative. Now, we are tired of it and we say no, we don't want to continue to belong there anymore. Personally, I don't even have a Nigerian passport because I'm ashamed to have one. Okay? Now, that is the first thing. We want a referendum to be able to determine our own future, to vote whether we want to continue to remain in that country or not. That's all we are asking. It's our right. About 6 months ago, United Nations Working Committee have asked the Nigerian government to release this man unconditionally because he was forcefully removed from another country, without following due process. If you want to extradite somebody, there is extradition processes. It was not followed. He was renditioned. He was kidnapped by a state. Now, United Nations Working Committee have asked for his unconditional release. The Nigerian government have turned their back on that as well.
Unfortunately, their only option is to protest, as nothing is being done by the UK and Nigerian government. Quays News, Isabella Norrison.
Footballers who play the sport from electric wheelchairs are hoping that their sport will gain more recognition and funding.
Players involved don't currently feel as though the sport is shown enough in the mainstream media. Patrick Killeen reports.
A sport recognised by many, but known in great depth by few. Powerchair football is England's most popular wheelchair sport, with over 110 affiliate clubs across England and over 1,000 players training on a weekly basis. Manchester City are one of the clubs who have recently established a powerchair team, but one member of their young coaching staff still thinks there is much work to be done to spread the word of the sport further.
Hi, my name's Jack, I'm 20 and play powerchair football. I think, to be honest, at the minute, we've just signed an agreement with AWS, so they're
Apologies for the loss of audio there. In sport, Manchester United are going to take on Real Betis in the second leg of the Europa League round of 16 tie, hoping to continue their charge for 3 trophies in their first season under manager Erik ten Hag.
Our sports correspondent James Youngs travelled to Spain for this crucial fixture.
Big game was for Manchester United, currently 4-1 up from the first leg at Old Trafford, which was a really good performance, a really solid performance. If they win again tonight, or if Real Betis don't win by 3 goals, then they'll go through to the quarter-final of the Europa League, where they could play Arsenal, they could play a Belgian side, St. Gilloise, or other teams as well, like Roma, depending on how the other results go tonight. But big game is for Manchester United. Could potentially have 2 trophies this season if they go all the way in the FA Cup or the Europa League as well. So massive opportunity this. I think it should be a comfortable win for United. I think they've definitely got the players that are better than Betis. I think they've got a much stronger squad. Casemiro is suspended for the FA Cup and league matches, but he can play tonight, so that's a big bonus for United. And the other players as well United have just beat Betis in general. They've just got a much better squad, so should definitely win tonight. And like I said, it's a great city, and the fans have had a brilliant time here, and hopefully they might even come back, because United might get Seville in the next round.
And finally, with 11 million people in the UK being deaf or hard of hearing, a bill recently in Parliament has made British Sign Language a recognised language in England, Wales and Scotland.
As we celebrate 20 years of British Sign Language, our reporter Holly Roberts has more.
This year's British Sign Language Week is protecting BSL. As awareness of the deaf community grows, content creators such as Louise May Mosley are teaching their viewers what it's like to be a coder.
Finish work, I'm greasy, don't look at me. We use BSL, not Makaton.
Louise has 2 deaf parents and shows what it's like for her as a hearing person living and communicating with BSL users. Furthermore, places such as the Manchester Deaf Centre, situated near Manchester Metropolitan University, are providing extra support to the community daily.
When I was at university, I saw a lady who was profoundly deaf do a one-woman show. She performed songs in sign language, and she performed Bohemian Rhapsody in sign language, and she explained that it had taken her 4 years to learn it because obviously she needed to get in sync with the vibrations and everything. And I found that really, really inspiring, and so I came away wanting to learn sign language after that.
The Wellbeing team at Manchester Deaf Centre won the Spirit of Manchester Award in 2022 for involving user service. The centre hosts many events with BSL interpreters to create a community and safe space for those with hearing loss.
When I was younger and I was working with 2 profoundly deaf people, it played a big part. They lived their lives quite normally. They didn't need anybody to interpret for them. But in a large meeting, like a union meeting, or maybe there's 4 or 5 people, they were unsure of who was speaking next, so they lost track.
Joy Shaw is one of the many who have learnt BSL in order to support the deaf community in their working spaces. Former MP Rosie Cooper introduced the British Sign Language Bill in 2021, which was then passed in 2022, making BSL a legal language. Minister for Disabled People, Health and Work, Chloe Smith, said the BSL bill will help remove barriers faced by the deaf community in daily life, and is a further welcome step towards a more inclusive and accessible society. It can take up to 3 to 4 years to become fluent in BSL. That's level 6 with 3 hours of training. But with over 11 million people in the UK being deaf or hearing impaired and 151,000 people using BSL, should we be doing more to help out the deaf community?
I think it'd be good if they did touch on this at school for young children, even just to promote the issue of how positive it is that people that are very different, life's very different for them, have to live in mainstream hearing world.
The support for the deaf community is rising, with the bill making it a legal requirement for equal access and sign language interpreters at places such as doctors' surgeries. However, more people learning how to communicate with a deaf person will loosen the struggles the community faces daily. Holly Roberts, Quays News, Manchester.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.